Hi, everybody.
Howdy.
How's it going?
Doing good. Where's
Okay,
everybody at?
great. You can hear me? We're a little bit early.
Yeah, I guess so.
Hey, Chase, I wanted to say hello. I was multitasking, so
Nice. I'm good. How are you?
good.
Let's see here. Do I sound okay? I've got a fan next to me. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not.
I can't hear it.
Okay, cool. All right, we've got more and more people joining. We're still a little early, so we'll give it a couple more minutes. Let me just go post a reminder that we're on. And let me just turn this on in the high level of Facebook as well. Okay, great. I think we're live. Could somebody do me a favor and just head over to the Facebook group and see if it's streaming live? No? Maybe I have to accept it.
I can hear you.
Can you see me on Facebook?
I guess not. I'm not on Facebook. I'm on Zoom.
Oh, here we go. There's a go live button. Duh.
I'm live on Facebook.
I just got the notification.
Cool. All right. All right, great. That looks like it's working. Let's see. Let me see if I can also get somebody from the dev team because it was really great having Renato on last week. And I don't see it on Facebook. Zoom always opens the second window, so you have to click there. Yeah, exactly. So I clicked that. So I think we're live on Facebook now too. like always, this recording will be posted in help.gohighlevel.com in the weekly Q&A sections. And I'm going to start uploading them all onto YouTube as well, so they'll live there. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So today we're talking about email deliverability, which is obviously a critical component skill to build. I'd like to preface this call by saying I'm by no means an expert in email deliverability. I have become accustomed to pieces of it over the years of 5 years running an agency. But I have to say, when Robin suggested that we do this as the topic for this week, I went and tried to learn as much new information as I could over the past couple of days. So I have a list here of about 8 things that I feel like are pretty solid pieces of information that we can cover with some good resources that I'll drop in the chat as well. So the very first thing is to make sure that your domain settings in MailGun are all green, right? So I'll share my screen real quick. And for people who have been members for a while, there's a new onboarding series that all new members to High Level go through that has a video for each step. And in that video, we walk through this, but let's just check it out. So when you're in your dashboard, if we go sending domains and we pick a domain, you then go over to domain settings, DNS records, and what you want to see is all green. If you have all these green, it means you've set up all your records correctly and the technical side looks good. So the most important thing on the technical side is this TXT record over here. It's like a skiff record, they call them. And basically that's a best practice security record to set. And you can go super technical into it and read up on it, but basically if you have the green check mark there, you've set it up correctly and your mail should not get flagged. Now, a lot of times what happens is when you set up your domain, so this one's for practicebloom.com, if I then go send a test from a practicebloom.com email to one of my practicebloom.com emails and I'm using G Suite, it throws up that yellow banner that's like an error, be careful with this email. And that freaks a lot of people out, but that's only happening because you're sending from your domain to your domain. And so when you send out to customers in High Level and stuff, that's not going to happen as long as all your records are set up correctly here. So the very first step is to double check your DNS records in your MailGun account to see that you have all green check marks. If you have one that's red, then you need to reset that one up.
Yeah, and so just to give a little context on that domain key or the SPIF record,
Yeah.
what that's actually doing is you're generating a secure SSL security ticket, an SSL for your email. When you are sending emails, it's actually checking if there's an SSL associated to that email. So that's what the SPF record is actually doing. Now, to Chase's point about you sending yourself an email, remember that you're essentially using 2 different mail servers. One is G Suite or Outlook 365, and the other one is MailGun. And so G Suite doesn't know MailGun exists or vice versa, and it's wondering why you're sending from a different email server back to G Suite, which is why it says there's a malicious error there. And so when you do those tests, you see those errors, generally you can ignore them because you know that you're not maliciously sending emails to each other.
Yep.
Cool.
And again, if you have all your green check marks over here, you can be confident that your technical side setup is correct.
I just, can you guys hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
I just had a client asking me about this. He tried to get this all set up and found out that we had to put them, the records in a correct order. Otherwise it kept on failing. So he tried to do like the TXT records, then tried to make the MX records, and it kept on
One thing
failing.
I'll say is I think you should be not having your client set up any of these at all, and you should be using a generic domain name. I know that's what we do ourselves, is we use like mg.html matappeal.co, instead of trying to have a client do it. Because if you're trying to explain to the client on how to do this, chances are they're never going to figure it out.
Well, our clients are all internet service providers, so they kind of have a little bit more technical information.
Yeah.
They're doing this on their DNS server. They're not doing it on MailGun.
Okay. Well, so to that point, then it might be specific to wherever they're doing it. I've done this many times using Cloudflare, and I've hopped around, and it didn't matter the order that I did them in.
Okay.
So
Sorry,
I think,
what was the problem?
They were putting the records in an order that the server didn't like. Their hosting didn't like. HostGator, I think, was what they were using. So they put in the TXT records, and then they created this subdomain with the MX records, and it was keep on failing. So they had to delete the TXT records, make the MX records first, then they were able to make the TXT records, and all went through.
And that's something specific to HostGator. As you guys are putting these records in, it doesn't matter.
It shouldn't, Robin, it shouldn't make a difference, though, with it being HostGator, because HostGator is just a cPanel provider. I think it's more so how you set it up inside of HostGator, because I'm a system admin for HostGator, or not HostGator, but I have a system admin license, and I'm familiar with the platform.
Yeah,
it's just more so how when you go into cPanel and you set it up inside of cPanel, it's more so based on how you're setting it up, because I know the MailGun records will tell you that you need to put the domain in. And a lot of the time with cPanel, you're not actually putting the domain in. You're just putting the first part of it in. And I think that's what causes a lot of the confusion.
Yeah.
Like right here, it says use MailGun, mail.profitengines.com. And in reality, in cPanel, you're just putting mail. Instead of mail.profitengines.com.
that's
that's what would cause the issues a lot of the times. And I know I had that issue as well with a lot of people that I've helped set up MailGun with cPanel.
Yeah, so ultimately, like, everyone's platform's a little bit different, but what I recommend is as you're working through these records, if you go to dnschecker.org, you can test it out, and that checks between, I think, 31 different servers around the world, and you want to make sure that it's propagating across all of them. So depending on your provider, some of them might want mail, some of them want mail dot, some of them want mail.profitengines.com, mail.profitengines.com with the period at the end. They all have different variations in how you register DNS. I come from an IT background, and so having to do, some crazy DNS stuff, you do it all through Telnet, so I've seen kind of all the different variations. All of that doesn't matter. You just need to make sure that when you test it, that it's picking up. And then you just have to figure out what platform, what their requirements are.
Yeah, that's the most common stumbles I've seen as people set these up is based on your provider. If you come back here and it's red, odds are you put in maybe just that when it really wanted that. So it might take a couple of times. But again, if you just come back here and look for those greens, and when you make a change, you can hit refresh. So here, this one isn't set up right. So I would need to go and make sure that that's figure out what's going on. And odds are I put maybe just that, and it needed that, like we just said. But it'll light up green. So once you have them all lit up green, you can be confident that you're set up and good to go. A ton of my research preparing for this call was about people talking about just like best practices and thinking about the person you're mailing to, and thinking about from a high level, if I were to receive this email from somebody that I didn't know or that I didn't know very well, how would I feel about that? And that's sort of like an easy litmus test of whether or not you should be sending it. As marketers and, going from white hat to gray hat to whatever, I don't want to make that call about where you fall on that as far as what you think is acceptable. I wanted to stick more towards like technical stuff that you can do to, give yourself the best chance at hitting the inbox. And then, leave the messaging side of it up to you. That being said, some of it does play into, whether or not it's going to hit the inbox. And so one piece of advice that everybody recommends is be careful what words you're putting in the subject. So if you're putting spam words like free, buy now, that kind of stuff, that's going to drastically increase the probability of that email not hitting the inbox. So definitely be very careful with your subject lines Put some thought into them, be creative about it, and try to avoid trigger words like free and buy now. The third one is to set up your unsubscribe link in the footer of your emails. And this one admittedly took me a while to figure out. There's not a ton of documentation. This is a great opportunity when we talk about affiliates generating content that's going to rank. This is a great one because I looked all over the place, including on MailGun's resources, and it was hard to find how to do this. We do have a help video that Sean made, which is what actually ended up helping me out. But this is wide open if somebody wants to get on it. So the way that you do it is you go into your MailGun account and we go sending domain settings. So we're going to go sending, expand that. We're going to go domain settings. We're going to want to make sure that we have the domain selected that we want to set this up for. So up here, there's a drop down and you can toggle between any domains you've added in MailGun. So make sure you're on the one that you're using in high level. And we're going to go to scroll down to the tracking section. And here, okay, so this broke when that CNAME broke. So I'm actually going to have to set that up first. So when your CNAME is set up, basically this unsubscribes, we can edit. And so this will be a live tutorial. Let me log in here. All right, so I'm going to go back to my records and figure out what's up with this CNAME. All right, email, mail, DNS. Let's check out what I have in here. And it's no longer there. So I don't know what happened, but we're going to add it back. And again, I'm not certain that it wants that or the whole thing. But once we load it in there and we go hit check, it's going to rerun the scan and that's there. But so somebody must have gone in and deleted all these records.
It takes a few minutes sometimes as well for it to show up.
Cloudflare is pretty instant. Can you go back to your Cloudflare?
Yeah, I think somebody must have gone in here and cleaned these out. But anyway, our CNAME is there, so I should be able to do what I was going to do. So in the settings tab, when we scroll down, now we can see unsubscribes is off. We can edit that, turn it on, save it. And then once you have it saved, you can set up a template. So here we can see I have this set up in HTML. So just a line break, a paragraph. And then this is from MailGun. And they have a library of these shortcodes that you can use. But essentially what this is going to do is it's just going to put that line at the bottom of the emails. And, I could say, don't want to receive these emails, and then unsubscribe here. And now that's going to put that into the footer of the mail that goes out from this address if they're using it. Oh, so I know why, because this is the one that we used to use. Great. So if I come in,
I personally don't use unsubscribe on my emails.
Well, Tim, you are not following best practices, but I'll leave that choice to you. But here we can see in this one, I just did I italicized it. I made the font a little smaller, so it's really subtle. And I think I could show you what it looks like on the other end if I dig up an email. But this is how you do it through MailGun. It's going to put it at the bottom of every email that goes out from the system using this URL.
Hey, Chase?
Yeah.
If you go back to that screen, like every one of mine has that orange bar about the CNAME. I have the CNAME in on every one of my domains, but I can't get rid of this.
Here?
Yes, that. I'm not sure what to do here. Every one of mine is correct. I mean, I have a CNAME in there, but I can't get rid of that warning.
Me too, right? So I'm getting the warning too, but I know that it's set up because I have the check mark. So I wouldn't even worry about it, because if you don't have it set up right, you won't have these edit buttons and you won't be able to set this link.
That's just default by MailGun, just letting you know that you have to have it set up that way. That's the reason why.
Yeah, that's kind of
Mine does that
confusing.
too. Every account that I've set up for high level has been like that, and I've probably set up over 60 accounts, and every single one of them are like that.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely a best practice. Tim doesn't do it, but I would recommend that you put an unsubscribe in there to give people a way out. Because if people don't want to be getting your emails, you don't want to be sending them. Because what's going to happen is if they can't unsubscribe, they're going to flag it. And the more people that flag you, the worse your score is going to get, and the less of your emails are going to hit.
Okay, before you go from there,
Yep.
I mean, I've got my click tracking and open tracking both turned on.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay, or should we turn it off, or what do you recommend there?
Oh, sure, yeah. Turn it all on, and soon you're going to be able to see this data in high level. And
Hallelujah.
Robin, I think that's, I don't know what the timeline is exactly around that, but I know
Yeah,
that's coming.
we're rolling that out in the next 2 weeks. I think we're about to release it to QA pretty soon, and then we'll test it internally. And if it passes, then we'll send it out to everybody.
Excellent.
Nice.
And how do you set that up with the current? Because right now, like my tracking host name is, well, it says email on mine. Will we have to change that to whatever we've been using? Like if we've been using replies at myurl.com, should we change that tracking host name to replies, or just having it say email? I don't know.
No, that is picked
Over.
up from your CNAME.
Oh, okay.
So if you go back to the DNS settings,
Uh-huh.
show you where that's not DNS settings there in MailGun,
Oh.
Yeah.
and then go to DNS records and then scroll down to the very bottom. That's what that last option is.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Understood. So don't touch it. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then Robin, will they need to come in? Will we need to come in here and turn these on for high level reporting to pull it?
Yes,
Okay.
you will have to do that. Now, what we are testing, and I'll need to, is Ronaldo on the line? Because he's actually one of the ones working on it. If not,
Yeah, he said he
we
couldn't
might be
join us
able
today.
to enable it via the API. I honestly haven't taken a look at it to see if we can do that.
How do you get those edit buttons? Well, I don't have those edits to turn them on or to turn on the unsubscribe.
Okay, so that means that your CNAME's not set up right.
Okay.
Also make sure that you're on the domain at the
True.
top.
Yeah, make sure that you're toggled to the domain that you're using, the subdomain
Uh-huh.
up
Yep.
here.
Not the
And
same.
then if you don't see these edit buttons, then one of your records isn't right. So come back here, look for what's not green, address that, and then you'll see the edit buttons pop up.
I see. Got it. CNAME is not correct.
And
Okay.
just a side note, just for everybody who's doing this, I've had this happen twice. I'm on a shared plan, and somebody else using the shared thing has abused their privilege, and mine started getting flagged. I contacted MailGun. They removed me off that and put me on a different shared plan, and now I'm back to it's good. But just don't. My point is, don't just accept the fact that somebody's claiming that you're a spammer. It may be somebody else on the shared plan.
Yeah, that's a great point. So when you're using MailGun, you're using a shared IP, as you just mentioned, and it could be the case that somebody on that same IP is doing malicious things with whatever whatever they're doing, and that can affect you. So if you're coming in and you're seeing terrible rates, definitely open a ticket with MailGun immediately and request to be switched to a new IP address. In a little bit, we're going to talk about purchasing your own IP address through MailGun, which is an option. But I was surprised to see there's actually some pros and cons to that as well. So we'll talk about that in a sec.
Oh, good.
The fourth tip that I came across, which is basically to set yourself a reminder to check the status reports. So this will obviously be much easier once you can see it in high level. But for now, you probably want to set yourself a weekly reminder to go in here, and we're going to go to sending and then suppressions. And you can see the stats and the emails of what's going on here, including complaints, unsubscribes, etc. So what you could do is you could come in here and like go to the complaints list and either export this or copy and paste these, go back into high level and remove these people, so that they don't continue to get mail and continue to flag it, which obviously increases the risk of your deliverability going down. So I don't know, Robin, if we're going to be able to tie that in once we can see it in high level, if we could action on that, D&D those people. But one thing I did come across is MailGun has zaps, and you can trigger off events like bounces and complaints. So what you could do is you could set up a zap to say, hey, if a complaint happens, action in high level to D&D that person. And to do that, you would have to add them to a campaign that was set up, or that could then trigger the D&D. So it's a bit of a workaround, but you could make that flow. So just something to think about. You could go into Zapier, search MailGun, and check out all the triggers that they have. And then Robin, I don't know if you want to speak to that, or if we're going to be able to action off of what we will soon be able to see in high level.
Yeah, it'll probably not be on the immediate list on that. It's probably going to be right after we launch. We'll start working on that zap, or not the zap, the trigger, so that
Cool.
you can trigger off of that.
Yeah. So that's just something to think about. Remind yourself to get in here and see what's going on as far as bounces and complaints. All right, number 5. Avoid purchasing lists. Everybody, the common recommendation is to not buy lists, that they're usually full of bad email addresses, which can get your IP flagged. Hence the reason you might be on a flagged IP, because somebody else was buying lists and cold marketing to it. If you do purchase a list, or if you're using a list in general, I wasn't aware of this, but MailGun actually has a validation tool. So you can log in, click on validation in the left-hand column, and you can upload a CSV. You could upload your list here, and it's going to actually give you a report. Let me get an example of this.
Another thing you can do is use like Unbounce or something and run it through that. And run it through a mail cleaning service to make sure that it's clean.
Yeah. If you use the
So with this, there's an update here that's actually going to go out in 1 week. So let me quickly fill in here. So the validation API that's there with MailGun, we're adding an option where under settings, you can just say validate email address. And once you have that checked, before we send any email, we check the email address to make sure that it's valid. And we flag the contact as well. Like every time the contact is updated, we flag the contact with valid or invalid email address. And if the email address is invalid, we won't attempt to send the email at all.
Oh, that's
So
great.
that will probably go out in the next week and a half or so.
Fantastic. Thanks, Varun. I didn't know you were on the call.
Hey, Chase, I got a question for you.
Yep.
If we wanted to go back and update the unsubscribes, how would we know what account that came from?
Like which sub account you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. So again, for that, I guess the best way to do that would be for us to actually capture the events and process it on our side. So this is something that's on our list. So after we finish some of the initial reporting, I think for the end of December, we have all of the email reporting, which is bounce rates, delivery rates, all of those stats into the app. And while we do that, we could definitely add some triggers, which, I mean, the complaints and the bounces, I just saw that right now. Like I didn't know they existed before this as well. But since MailGun has them in the interface, I'm guessing they're going to expose that via webhook as well. So we might be able to trigger off those and allow you to mark the contact as DND. So I'll see how we can set that up, but I think that's a possibility.
would that be an argument for setting up like a subdomain for each account so that I can keep all that separate?
Well, one way that we could look at it, Varun, is every email that goes out does get its own email address. That's how they do the tracking. So we could probably pull off of that key and then build the DND off of that.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, that's a way to do it as well.
We'll get that figured out.
Yeah. No, but now that, I mean, I didn't know that the complaint for the bounces section existed separately there, but now that we know that, we'll figure out a way to key off that.
Yeah, I learned all sorts of cool new stuff preparing for this call.
Just so people are aware, the validations of emails on MailGun are not free. So
yes, so that's why we're making it optional. That's why we're adding the setting to enable or disable this, because there is going to be a cost to it.
Okay, great. Well, it's good to know you're on it, Varun. But I think it's also good to know that it's here. So the other thing is MailGun has a really robust library so if you go into docs and blogs, they've got a ton of documentation and a ton of videos where you can go through this stuff in more in depth. Like they walk you through how to use each tool and stuff. I'm going through it really quickly, but there's a ton of stuff to learn. So that was the validation. It was also mentioned there's a bunch of third-party tools that you could do to validate your list, and it sounds like we're working on some internal solutions as well, which is awesome. The sixth tip that is on my list was interesting for me, because when I was doing marketing at the agency, we made really beautiful emails. So like we always had header images and multiple images in the post and logos of the company and all this kind of stuff. And I was watching a video from MailGun the other day, and they brought it up where you should really consider removing as many images as possible, because images in emails are something that are monitored by the email service providers. And the more that you have, the more you could potentially be flagged. I have never seen that actually happen. I mean, we send a lot of emails and they were all, pretty visually appealing. And, I don't think I ever saw any data suggesting that it was a negative, but I thought I'd just point that out. And I think this is why you see a lot of marketers and, teachers of email marketing doing nothing but text. I'm sure that plays a part of it. So just be conscious of, how many images that you're putting in there. Are they really necessary? And again, I don't have hard data for that, but that was the tip that I saw straight from MailGun that I thought I would pass along. Okay, number 7, consider upgrading to a dedicated IP address from MailGun. I believe the cost is $80 a month. If you do that, it takes you off the shared. So you're removing the possibility that someone else on that same IP address is harming your deliverability. But what I didn't know is that there's actually a con to it. And that is that if, what I read was that certain email service providers want to see a minimum volume of 5,000 emails a month to consider you a legitimate source of emails. So by being on a shared IP, you're getting clear of that. If you go on your own IP and you're not sending 5,000 a month, there's a potential where they're basically not taking you seriously, and that could hurt you. So before you purchase your own IP, take that into consideration, the volume across your accounts of what you're sending. But again, that is an option to get your own dedicated IP from MailGun that will get you out of any shared IP issues. And I don't know if anybody else, Robin, maybe you have more experience with that, the not sending 5,000 being a potential problem. But again, I thought I'd pass that on. That came from MailGun as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of variabilities that go into it. Like if you're sending legitimate emails to known domains, usually where you see the biggest issues come is where you're sending emails to to public domains, like at Gmail, at Yahoo. When you send it to those sort of domains, that's where you have the highest percentages of getting into the promotions folder, or worse, getting hit into spam.
Cool. All right, my last tip that I have is to test your emails. So in high level, when you build an email, there's the test button, and I'm going to drop a link to everyone. Well, 2 links. Here are 2 services. You can go there. It spits out like a unique email address to throw into your test. You hit send, you go back, you click, show me the report or whatever, and it will spit out a report. It's going to go and check a bunch of these factors that we've been talking about and give you like a pass-fail report. So if you get any fails in there, it's going to basically describe why it's giving you that, and you can go back and make that change in your email. So that's always a great idea. Test your email, use a service like these. They're free. I don't know if they're free to a certain amount or whatever. I just did a couple of tests to try them out. But it's definitely worth taking the time, especially, if you're doing a bulk upload to a lot of people, or, in general, if you're going to run a campaign that a lot of people are going to go through, test the emails, just get that security. You might find some things that you weren't thinking about that you can go and change.
How do you do that again?
So if you look in the chat, I just dropped 2 links. One is isnotspam.com. The other one was mail-tester.com. So I'll open one of these up and just show you on the screen share here. So basically it's just spit out this random email. So I would take this into high level and send a test to this, and then click view the report. And you can see here's what it's doing. It's checking all this stuff. And you can read it more into this, but it's going to come back with a report saying, pass, 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 fail. And if you see any fails, you can go address it before you send that email live. That's pretty much everything that I have. I mean, again, the large majority of tips that I found out there were just basically use your head, don't spam people, consider, to who you're sending. Is this message going to align with the audience I'm sending to? That kind of a lot of common sense stuff. But hopefully some of this more technical stuff helps out. And if anybody else has any other tips, feel free to share them. I don't know if Robin or, hey, Sean.
Hey, sorry, late.
If you guys have any ninja secrets as far as deliverability that we haven't talked about. But yeah, hopefully what we just went through helps.
I think for the most part, you went over all the basic things. One thing that we could probably go over is how to review the mail stats. Do you want to go into that, Chase?
Email stats in where? MailGun, high level?
In MailGun.
Sure.
Oh, we went over Mail Checker, I hope.
Mail Checker?
Mail-checker.com.
Yeah, I just posted a link to mail-tester.com, which I'm sure.
Or Mail Tester, sorry, my bad. Yeah, that's it.
There
Good.
we go.
Okay, awesome. That's my favorite site.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And did we talk about validations on the email side and kind of what our plans are there by chance?
Yes, Varun just jumped in and gave us
good.
An update, which is great.
Thank you, Varun. So it happens when you're late.
On the validation, I found out the hard way that is definitely not free.
Oh, how much did you spend?
$100, nothing flat.
Well, did Varun mention that we're going to do it at the high level so that we're going to cost share across everybody, so that way you don't have to double validate if somebody's already validated it?
Awesome.
Oh, no. So good. Well, I think that's a good detail. Yeah, just try to save people money.
Yeah, so we'll be building up a huge database of emails pretty soon.
So I think this is, Robin, what you were just mentioning. If you come into MailGun, you go Sendings Overview.
Mm-hmm.
You can see these stats, right? So this account is delivering at a 91% rate, which is great. And you can drill down by day. Sorry, I can only see like half of my screen because the Zoom boxes. But yeah, you can download the reports over here. You can view them on the chart. Filter
and you can show them in the logs too. If you go into the logs on the left-hand menu, you can also see specific like issues. So like you can even filter this. So if you click on add filter, you can choose like complained or permanent fail or temporary fail, and then you can actually see down in the logs below exactly what caused that issue. So like if you click that add filter button, event is, and instead of accepted, it could be like rejected or complained or whatever. And then you could filter, and then it'll show you in the log, and you can actually, oh, you didn't get any complaints. Try rejected or failed. It's probably the other one that comes up. And then, oh, no fail, no rejected. Let's go permanent fail. There's got to be something bad in there. But you can click on the message and it'll actually, there you go. So you can see right there, like message not accepted for policy reasons. Click here to, oops, it was working.
Yeah, it was working.
Try that refresh button. But then you can see exactly what the issue is. Now, something that I have noticed and I think is really important to point out, and I think this is a universal truism, regardless of what mail sending service you use, there is no such thing as perfect inboxing. So, you know, you can do all of this work to like have a clean list and be on a good IP address and pass all the spam checks and still not make it into the inbox. And I think what's important to realize is that if you are Gmail or Yahoo or Hotmail or whoever, you do not want all of the email that comes in to make it into your user's inbox, because you just know that those people, one way or another, you think that they don't want that email, right? And so there's lots and lots and lots of stuff that happens after you get through the mail server that it's really hard to impossible, I think, in general, to fix. You know, I think that there are certain heuristics that tend to work well, like HTML emails almost always universally deliver less well than text emails or you know, emails with no images in it, for example, or limited images, like a little tagline at the bottom. Those tend to always deliver better than ones with tons of images, because I think generally as a heuristic, if I'm a programmer thinking how to write like a spam checker or even just a commercial email checker versus did this come from somebody that this person knows, those are the types of patterns I think that you're going to look for that are going to determine what you do with that email. And I think it's just like, years ago, people would say, oh man, I get so much junk mail in my box outside my house. The same thing is true for email. So there's a lot of pressure on Gmail and Outlook and all these guys to make sure that your inbox is quote unquote clean. And so I think that the whole point is, at the end of the day, email by itself is never going to be the perfect way to reach people. And I don't think there is a perfect way. I think going forward, you're going to need to hit them on lots of different channels. But I don't think that even if you get all of the items right, that you're going to get 100% inbox rate. So I think that's something to just always keep in mind as you're developing and outlining your marketing campaigns.
100%. But I think, and Robin, I probably should have started with this, it is important to be aware. And obviously we're talked about how High Level is going to bring those stats into the platform very soon, which is fantastic. But in the meantime, you definitely want to pop in here and at least check out your rates and see where you're at, because if you come in and you find out that you're delivering at 20%, there's a problem somewhere that you need to address. But to this point here, the logs are actually really useful as well, because if you, like yesterday, I was sending myself a test and it wasn't hitting my inbox. Well, the first thing you do is you come check the log to make sure it left MailGun,
They don't really like you today there, Chase.
So they can be very useful as identifying where something went wrong.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If there's an overt error, the logs are great for that. Like if your IP is blocked or if you're getting rejected outright, then this is a great place to come. But I still see lots of cases where people get delivered, but they don't make it past the spam filters inside Gmail or inside Outlook. And I think that has a lot to do with just the politics of email.
I have something completely off the topic, though, really quick, Sean. On the mobile app.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Tim always has something to come up, right?
That's indeed true.
Inside the mobile app, if you try to go to unread, it like disappears. Like unread text messages just like flash.
Do me a huge favor and get on a call with Devanshu. Just PM him on Slack and he can help you.
Okay.
So
great. So that was everything that's on my list. Let's hop into Q&A if anybody has questions.
Yeah.
Today's a great time to ask. We've got
Well, I guess before that, let's get into some of the speed.
Oh yeah, did we not talk about that yet?
Can I ask
No,
a
not
question
yet.
on what we're just
Yeah, absolutely. Fire away.
I'm wondering when we send HTML messages from high level, if these are being sent as multi-part with a text component.
It is. In fact, we just recently launched that, I think about a week and a half ago, specifically to address that issue, because we would see time after time after time on Mail Tester, people would get dinged for that. So now it automatically includes the text part by pulling out the HTML tags from the HTML and putting that in as the text.
Okay, cool. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is when I was looking at the logs there, there's multiple mentions of DMARC, and you might want to mention that to people because you mentioned SPF, but you didn't mention.
So DMARC's an interesting one. I see that as being the most problematic is when people are trying to send with a from address that is Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, something like that. In general, I would advise never trying to say you're sending from a big name mail company. You always should be sending from a professional domain if at all possible, because that's where I find that DMARC rule gets flagged, because that's Yahoo, Gmail, and Outlook knowing that the email is not coming from each other and then flagging that email accordingly. Because I think at the end of the day, another heuristic is people who say they're coming from yahoo.com and aren't actually coming from yahoo.com are probably most likely to be scammers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but it's quite possible that these big mailers like Yahoo and Gmail, they actually give you some points just for having enabled DMARC, even if the policy is none, because it just makes it more official.
Yeah, I would agree with that. DMARC does not. Yeah, so I mean, like, if you really, really want to nail hard down on deliverability, you should DMARC every time, right?
What does DMARC mean again?
Isn't DMARC the one that checks mail coming to your domain?
So DMARC is like a policy that you set up. It's just a DNS record, which tells the mail servers what to do with email that says it's coming from you, but is not really coming from you. So
it's more of a reporting standard.
DNS, yeah. And all of the big DNS providers, I mean, all of the big mail providers like Yahoo, Gmail, if you look at their DMARC, it'll say if the email says it's coming from us, but it's not originating from our IP, either drop the email or don't even accept the email. So if they have DMARC policies like that, the email will just get dropped, or you'll get heavily fined, or you'll get put in spam. So for your own domain, you should add a DMARC policy because it makes you look more legit. But the setting itself, like what you set it to, doesn't really matter as much.
I just popped in an article from SendGrid on what DMARC is, so everybody can check it out.
How do we apply that to this program?
You can add it to it's a DNS record that you can add to your domain or to any of the domains you're sending on behalf of.
Which is? How do we do it?
Oh yeah, so check, did you see that article I just popped in? It breaks it down.
Is my screen share still on?
I assume so.
So it's got a lot of components to it, right? There are different variables that go into your DMARC where you can set.
So there are builders for this as well, where if you just Google build DMARC rule or something, there are builders where they give you a bunch of checkboxes where you can pick what options you want. And the options will say things like, if the email did not originate from my domain, what do you want to do with that email? And you hit all the checkboxes of how you think the behavior should work. And once you do that, it'll give you a DNS record to add, and you just go add that DNS record to your, the next one says free DMARC generator. If you go back to the search, the next one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm running through one right now to see if it's any good.
Yeah. So you.
Is it DMARC or DKIM that controls the header, like of the email that shows up in like Outlook? Like, you know how it says like sent on behalf of.
So that's going to be the that's going to be like the domain you add in MailGun, right?
Yeah.
That's the via address.
Yeah.
The DMARC is just what happens if for an I mean, this is just a validation rule basically. What happens if an email shows up and it isn't?
But the reason not to get too hung up on it is because it's not required. So this isn't like a have to have, right?
But I'm just asking because like that header when it shows up like an Outlook or some other like mail clients like looks pretty messy, and some clients like don't like that. So
Yeah, that header you can't. So there's a rule of thumb there as well. So I've seen that the header looks cleaner if, let's say, you're using a domain replies.gohighlevel.com with MailGun, and you send out as varunetreplies.gohighlevel.com or just
It'll drop that. It'll drop it.
It'll drop that header. It will be much cleaner.
You can absolutely do that.
So this goes back to the idea of setting a domain for each of your clients to be specific, which you can certainly do.
Do we put this in the zone editor somewhere?
No, so like basically what it says is if you wanted that VIA record to disappear, that VIA. So like if you've ever seen MailChimp, or in fact, actually a good one is just search MailChimp in your, or go back to Printful or something, right?
Oh, I know.
You'll see a VIA address. To get that VIA address to go away, your from address, your from domain has to match exactly with the domain that you validated. See right there, Claveo Mail. So it says Printful from tech-support@printful.com via claveomail.com.
So this email, Gmail actually does a good job of formatting it. But if you looked at this email on Outlook or some other client, it will actually look messy.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's how VIAs work, whether it's Claveo Mail or MailChimp or ActiveCampaign. Nobody gets around these rules. This just is how the world works. But if you wanted that to go away, what you would do is you would set the from address, in this case would actually have to be tech-support@ksd1.claveomail.com, which obviously in their case they don't want to do that. But in our case, you can control that because you could set the subdomain to be, let's say, like replies.mydomain.com, and in our software you could set the from to be from bob@replies.mydomain.com, and if those match, the VIA will drop.
So what we're getting at is if you come back into MailGun and you go sending domains, you could set up a domain for each of your clients if you wanted to, and then in High Level, tell High Level to use that domain for that client.
So if my client's name is bob.com and I don't have access to that, he's not going to give it to me, I could just set it up with Bob with two B's, B-O-B-B.
Yeah, that's true. You could.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that would work. So, but again, I mean, as you can see with people like MailChimp and ActiveCampaign, all these other people and us included, the necessity behind that is pretty close to zero, right? Because
yeah, exactly.
they deliver email all day long and without a problem. And it's exactly why those rules were created, so that third-party sending companies like us and MailGun and so forth can actually deliver email on behalf of other domains and can do so very legitimately.
Yep. And like most agencies, I think using High Level use one domain, your agency domain, to send on behalf of all of your clients, like here. And we could see the delivery is like 90%. So obviously it's not a problem, but if you wanted to take it that one step further, you could. You can also solve a lot of weird issues, like with a lot of times that we'd have clients complain of like, hey, my Gravity form on my WordPress website notifications are not hitting my inbox. There's tons of plugins that you can set up and go straight from MailGun and bypass the default IP of whatever server you're hosting on. And there are all sorts of ways as you get deeper into MailGun to solve some of these problems. Like here, you can see that this is a client-specific domain that was set up to solve a specific deliverability issue, and now it's it hasn't said anything yet. So, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a rabbit hole, but if you just follow like the onboarding instructions, you can rest assured that as long as you have all the green check marks, you're going to be in a good place.
So if you're using only one subdomain across all of your clients, aren't you essentially creating a universal like unsubscribe list across like all of your clients? Like if say if I'm using the same subdomain for
Well, okay,
10
so
different
so let's
clients?
talk about that actually. So the way we were doing unsubscribes prior to this, and now what you can do with the automatic with the trigger links is, I would recommend switching up how people do unsubscribe. So there's the unsubscribe thing that you can do in MailGun, and I think you're right. In that case, you are creating a global list. But now you could actually create a trigger link in the body of the email that when they click on it, it actually turns the D&D switch on automatically.
That's an even better way to do it.
So now you don't have to unsubscribe inside MailGun. You can do the unsubscribe inside High Level.
So does that DND switch control text messages and other things too, or just
It does.
email?
I mean, yeah, no, it's just it's campaigns. It's not what it does is says don't let me go back on a campaign. So it's true. If you think that somehow they're unsubscribing from your email, but they really want to get your text messages instead, then that's a bad technique.
Okay.
Seems unlikely, but could be true.
Yeah, so just to visually walk through what Sean just said, you could come in here, create a trigger link, and then use that link. So then you would put text at the bottom of your email saying, don't want to receive these anymore, hyperlink it with your trigger link, and then you come into triggers and you would build a trigger that starts off of the trigger link being clicked, and then the action is set contact DND.
Although we will, so confusing. Sorry, Victor. Yeah, email is not an easy, simple thing. Welcome to the world of marketing. But I do think that the other thing we'll be able to do in the near future is catch the unsubscribe clicks from inside MailGun and start allowing you to work with them inside High Level. Because I'm trying to think if there's a, although I guess it would be nice at some point maybe just to break down the D&Ds like by type, but we could sort of think about that offline as a future enhancement.
Yeah, Varun had a comment like that as well, because we were looking at suppressions in here and how it shows you, it breaks them out via complaints, unsubscribes, bounces. So if we can get this and then action on it in High Level.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be fantastic.
So yeah, we will add a trigger for that when we release this. I think roundabout when we release the stats inside the app. So I think that's good. What other questions do we have?
Yeah, I mean, being able to trigger off bounces and stuff would be nice, because if it bounced too many times, or if it's like a hard bounce or something and the email doesn't exist, I'd like to just like unsubscribe that person or do the DND for email. And
I do think the auto checking of the emails before they go out, I do think that will help reduce bounces considerably, because we should be checking for the bounces up front. But you're right. I still think that we should be able to still trigger off of all those events.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
Because I think less bounces also improve your reputation, if I had to guess.
So Sean, the other thing that we talked about earlier is how MailGun has zaps where you can trigger off of complaints, let's say, for example.
Yeah.
But now if I walk that through on the High Level side, you have to associate it with a specific account, right? So you'd have to.
Well, yeah, that's why we just need to natively support these.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Varun, but I think probably next month sometime we'll have that. Unless I'm being crazy.
That's the exact same timeline that I gave.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I think so too.
Fantastic.
I mean, with the validation, I mean, we have to check how many emails will most people send, because I just checked with 10,000 validations, and that's like $90 a month, I guess.
Yeah, so I don't think it'll be that. I don't think it'll be that much for most people. And again, it all depends on how you're set up, right? Some people will want the validations and some people won't. But I do think having them as an option is going to be important, because when I see a lot of email deliverability issues, I often find that one of the biggest culprits is actually the bounce rate.
Yeah.
Cool. More questions? All right.
What is real quick? What is when you're doing a test email?
Yeah.
from the editor, what's the best way to send that test email? Do you have to go back into the campaign, put it into a campaign and do it from there? Or is there a quicker way to
Are you talking about for the HTML emails?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think we so we're going to build, we're going to
email.
Okay.
So I think just go to campaigns, just put in the email in the edit email event model. There's a preview section in there where you can, Chase is just going there, where you can just put in that test email address and hit send test, and that will send the email to that address.
But there's no way to do it from the actual builder. So
but there should be. So we'll definitely
So
add that to the list.
You're talking about. So which builder are you talking?
He's talking about the HTML builder, the drag and drop HTML builder. Not in here, right? You're talking about the HTML builder under.
Yeah,
marketing.
this is how I do it now. But if I'm tweaking a little thing and I want to go back and check it, or maybe check a few of them at the same time, I have to go back and forth to kind of check it.
Yeah.
Right.
So we will fix that. We'll put that on somebody's list to add like a send preview button on the HTML builder list.
Nice.
Can you write that down, Varun?
You have that also as you're going to do the HTML builder, you can edit it, because if you save it as a template, try to bring it in, you can't do anything to it. You have to go back to the original.
Yeah, right. So it'd be great if you could just do it right here.
Well, it'd be great to do it in the campaign. When I'm
So you want to be able to edit the email, the HTML template in the campaign?
Well, it's a template.
Yes, that's what, remember, Sean, a long time ago, I brought this up when this rolled out. It doesn't really make much sense to not be able to edit them when you're going to use them, because that's where you need to customize them in the campaign level.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's not a template.
Yeah, this is the final thing.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah. So I think the long-term answer here is we kind of want to roll out our own builder that's a little more user friendly. And I feel like we want to put most of our efforts into making that better, if that makes sense.
And it will feel very much just like our funnel builder, right? I mean,
exactly. And it'll be a little more akin to some of the ActiveCampaign and MailChimp stuff. We just got honestly caught off guard by the demand for HTML emails, because we just know their deliverability is much lower. But we also understand that clients really like pretty looking emails, even if they have higher instances of spam and lower open and click rates. So we get that. So we're going to put some more work into this probably in Q1 of next year, which is only a month away, even though it probably sounds like a long time.
Cool. Other questions?
Can we schedule another session like this for newer people that just join high level?
Well, we've got daily onboarding webinars. Have you seen those?
So daily, where can I see those? Right there in Slack? Is it on Slack?
Go to gohighlevel.com/onboarding. Here, let me, I'll shoot you the link. But yeah, absolutely. We'd be happy to talk to you. Plus, you can also schedule one-on-one calls with us too. So let me drop some links here. So there's the onboarding link. And then also, if you're like, oh, the onboarding is great, but I'd really love to talk to somebody one-on-one. If you go to gohighlevel.com/support, and I'll drop that link in here too. You can also, there's a link in there to actually schedule with an actual person from support, and you can do one-on-one calls.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just making sure I structure all the accounts correctly with MailGun. I know you guys talked about using your domain name for all of your clients, that's probably the best practice right now.
I mean, that's what I would do personally, because I think it makes it a lot easier and simple, because now you don't have to go. The big problem we honestly see with MailGun is people have a hard time with DNS. For some reason, DNS just really throws people. And so just trying to figure out, well, how do we keep you from having to go into your DNS every single time? Having your own domain just for that you set up one time just tends to work really, really well. And if we look at bigger companies like MailChimp or somebody like that, they run everything through one VIA domain. So we know it scales really well. So in general, that's a great practice. If you really wanted to, get pixel perfect, you could do a domain for every client, but then you're going to be running in and out doing new domains all the time. And I think that can be cumbersome.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, and then just to, I guess this is probably an elementary thing, but the DNS, my DNS wasn't validated, my CNAME, and what I found out right now is that the proxy was turned on, so I turned it off, and it
Oh,
worked.
because you're using Cloudflare.
Cloudflare.
Yep. There you go. Welcome. There you go. Not surprising it was a DNS related issue, because that's where all problems tend to lie when it comes to getting the stuff hooked up.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
I have a question regarding campaigns.
Yeah.
So I set up a campaign. You know, I sent out 100 emails. I got 4 different emails. They're going out every 7 days. You know, I've added more people. I've added all kinds of things. I want to add more emails. In order to to add, I did 4 emails, which said 4 more emails. I have to put them back in.
I already knew where this question was going.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, the answer is yeah. I know what you're saying. You want to be able to requeue the people that have already gone through the prior 4, right? Yeah, that's I mean, you know, that's one of those things that's absolutely on our list and we want to get done.
Because I got to admit, I'm so lost with a bunch of my campaigns. I've got like 20 different segments of people. I was like, where in the heck are these people in my? I mean, it's it's my fault. I didn't set it up correctly, and it's been.
Yeah, I think this is a common request. It's something that we absolutely have on the list, and we want to get done.
Yeah, I'd just love to add them to it, and just kind of keep the flow going. In a month, I'm going to come up with 4 more emails. I just want to add them to it and get them. Every week, get another email every week. So something along that line would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that when you put back in, when you add another step, it'll ask you, do you want to requeue everybody that was in the prior step into this new email, or anybody who's ever, and it's going to really have to be everybody who's ever gone through this step ever.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We have definitely, that's one of our to-do items.
I just wanted to drop a note.
Put something about filters in there so that not everyone goes through the new stuff. You could exclude people that have certain tags.
There you go. So there's a wonderful example of, as soon as we launch this, that's exactly where it'll go next.
Sorry, I interrupted you, man.
No, you're fine. I think that's a really good, that's a great example of, and we'll have to figure out kind of what the bounds are on that. But yeah, in general, I mean, at some point, if you're going to do too much sophistication, I kind of think, gosh, you really should just spin up a new campaign, right? But I could see something simple like a tag-based filter or something on that. So we'll definitely put that on the dev list when we talk about that.
Well, you're thinking about it. We're coming up with a campaign and we want to do them for a whole year, but I can't write a whole year of emails, right?
I totally get it. Yeah. So the simple, your request is not a weird one. It's a great request. It's just us trying to race every day. We race ahead as fast as we can with as many features as we can. And, some just take longer than others just because of how they fall on the list.
Ping marketing, go.
Sean, is there a workaround for that? If you were to set like a 90.
Yeah. So technically, you could put a wait step at the end of your campaign that says wait 999 days, right? And then, so now everybody's going to hit that wait step, right? So then you can add an email behind that. And then Varun, can I just drag the wait step below it?
I missed part of that.
Sorry. So, so the workaround for being able to queue up another email, can you put a wait step that waits 999 days and then add the email in below that wait step and then drag that email above it and everybody will move to it?
So you can't drag it above because people are still queued up on that wait step. But what you can do is, if you delete the wait step, everyone flows over.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, you can't. There is a workaround there. So nice. You can't do that. It's a bit cumbersome, but it is a workaround.
Does that make sense? So if you're stacking emails and like, okay, I'm to June, but I'm gonna write emails all the way to the year, you put a wait step that has, just make it like 999 days. Everybody's gonna get stuck at that step. Mm-hmm. Then when you add your next email, add another 999 day wait step below that one, and then delete the first one, and everyone will just fall into that new email.
Yep.
The replays are all posted in help.gohighlevel.com. There's a section called Weekly Q&As where we post the replays, and now they will all be on YouTube as well. So this only goes back 3 weeks because that's when I started recording these, but moving forward, everything will be in both places.
Going back to that wait step thing a little bit, is there any way we could see like how many people are actively waiting at that step, like when we dive into a campaign?
So this will be part of the reporting that we're rolling out. Like when we start showing all the email and SMS delivery reporting, we'll also start showing how many people are queued up at each step. So this is something that we're adding, but that it isn't in there right now.
Gotcha.
Right. Well, I have a bazillion questions. Sean knows I like to ask a lot of things. First things first, I just want to say if anybody's not on that Slack group, definitely get on there. Like I get help constantly, super fast,
Great.
all the time. I know that he was saying, go to the website, but that Slack group is just amazing. A couple of things I would add to that Slack group though, that you have that information button on the top. You can add links in there so people can find it easier to find the links you were talking about before, Sean, like the scheduling one-on-ones and stuff like that.
Fair enough.
Also,
fair enough. I don't know where to add them though. I've already hijacked the description to put the hours in because I found that some people were getting frustrated that like 3 a.m. they couldn't get help. So I just wanted to try to set expectations.
Yeah, I don't even see that. It's in the channel details. You could add.
Oh, cool. Okay, I'll check that.
It's pretty empty right now. Another thing I just wanted to say that that would help is there's some people in there that might be employees of High Level, but they don't identify themselves as that. They're just talking, but they know what they're talking about. And I think that they are employees, but I can't tell. So it'd be nice to have that little High Level, in parentheses, whatever, like you do, next to their names if they don't have it currently.
Good
or
point.
if they're assistants or whatever, however they're associated with you guys, would be nice. Because I'm sure new people would rather hear advice from people who are associated with the brand instead of people who are just, helping out. Maybe wrong. So that's just my suggestions for that. But yeah, definitely get in that Slack group. It's awesome. So I do have a couple questions, especially with some timelines on things as well. I know this is, I don't know how on topic we are, but going back to that campaign about how you were scheduling people, adding in like a wait, you can put in a couple multiple waits at a time, right? And you could just do a wait and then another wait, and it will just add up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
They'll
if you
just
wanted,
fall into them. Like once they have waited for however long you've set in
yeah.
your first one, they'll fall into the next one.
Okay. In the campaigns, you can add SMS, you can add emails. A lot of those, you can actually change the title of it. But you can't change the title of the calls. So if I make like call 1, call 2, call 3, then call 4, and then I move call 4 to the top, I can't rename it to say call 1, call 2. So it's like kind of out of order. Can we fix that somehow? Or is that like something that I should suggest? Every other one you could rename, like you could rename SMSs, you can rename emails, but you can't do calls for some reason.
I'll add that to the list.
I'm
Like,
just
there's no
super finicky, so
Makes sense.
it doesn't affect anything. It's just when I'm trying to visualize how the calls are going, it's hard to, in my mind, it's hard to see call 4 to go to call 1 again, So it just kind of messes me up on that.
No, I'll add that to the list.
Same thing with holidays. Is there a way we can do a holiday pause? Because a lot of people I know are out of the office during the holidays. It'd be kind of nice to put in certain dates, and then on that day, all campaigns pause.
I'm adding that as well. I mean, we kind of noticed that with Thanksgiving, but before Christmas, we'll make sure that it's possible to do that.
Oh, it's going to hit hard now because you got Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. A lot of people are just off on all of those.
So we'll make sure that you can pause all of these days in advance somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, or just adding your own. You know, not every country celebrates the same holidays, so
I mean, we'll just add a pause button on the campaign or something where you know what you're doing and you can resume it once you're back here.
that works. Okay. All right. I mean, I have these are not all my questions. I have a team that wants me to ask these things. What are we doing about server performance? It seems, you know, everybody knows about like maybe around 9 a.m., 10 a.m. It just grinds to a halt, and I can't get pages to load. My clients can't get pages to load. Is that still being worked on? Is there any updates on that?
So yes, we are working on that every day. So the simple fact is that there isn't a single change that we can make to speed this up, right? Like there isn't like a bigger server or something we can get that immediately solves the issue.
Yeah.
Is our problem. Like there's 10 or 20 small things that we need to do to get ourselves there. So we're continuing to work on it. Like we've already pushed out a couple of updates over the last 2 weeks. Right now we're working on the opportunities page. So we're going through this bit by bit. I'd say by the end of December, we should be in a really good place as far as speed goes.
So it's just pretty much you're optimizing, you know, different codes at a time, and hopefully it all.
So I mean, we're just going through and we're optimizing different pages and different parts of the code. And by the time that we're done with it, it should have a sizable impact on the app's performance.
Along those lines, when I tried to upload about 9,000 emails the other day, it took 6 hours.
Yeah, that's actually an easy fix that should be out in the next 2 weeks, because what happens right now is we're actually uploading directly from the local client, so your computer, to the database. And what we found is that people's performance varies, the internet connection speed varies, and in general, the average computer is not set up to upload 9,000 records for whatever reason. So we're going to move it from the client to the server. And when we do, it'll munch through the data a lot faster.
I mean, I've got 5G here. I don't know how much faster I could get.
Oh no, it's not about your internet speed. It's about your computational speed. So like when we throw it at the server, right, it'll spin up 10 servers if that's what it takes to crunch through that upload. Versus if you think about your machine, it's single threaded, so it can only do one at a time. So it's more about parallel processing versus singular processing, and that's just an architectural change. So we do have a good solution for that, is I guess the bottom line, and give us about 2 weeks, we'll have that live.
Thank you.
My next question would be about using Twilio. I have a lot of clients that, because of that, 3-second delay for the voicemail detection, that they'll call the client or their lead. The lead will be like, hello, and they don't connect, and they just hang up. So they're having a lot of problems connecting.
Well, that's why we have that's why we have the disable. So the reality is that just computationally and algorithmically, you're just not going to find a better solution. So you're asking a computer to determine whether or not the voice on the other end is a human, yes or no. And there's just a fact, which is like gravity. Like the longer you give me, the more accurate I'm going to be. The less time you give me, the less accurate I'm going to be. Right. And we try to hit the sweet spot. But in reality is, if you can't handle it, the best answer is shut it off. Yeah. And then your clients can just leave voicemails, in which case it'll be perfect every time.
Yeah. Is there any way to reduce that delay at all? Or is it always going to be?
Right now, the delay is at its minimum. So the minimum that Twilio will give us is 3 seconds. Gotcha. Because if the audio is shorter than 3 seconds, they can't really guess if it's voicemail.
And remember, it's not that it always takes 3 seconds. It's simply that that's the maximum time we give it. Sometimes it's instantaneous. But again, this is algorithmic delay.
Yeah. All right.
So the caveat is, if you're going to shut that off, right, Sean, you might want to reduce the time that it waits so that you're not hitting.
There should be no delay at that point. It should be instantaneous.
But I mean, if the person doesn't answer, your campaign's going to shut down, right? Because it's going to hit.
If the person, the problem will be if once you turn that off, if let's say the voicemail box answered and you hang up the call, your campaign is not going to continue to go, because as far as your campaign is considered the call was answered. It does not know
Right.
answered by who. It doesn't know if it was answered by voicemail or by a person.
That's true.
So the campaign is going to stop if you have stop on response turned on. The solution there is to turn stop on response off. And if the call was answered and it went well, you go pull the person out of the campaign. You don't leave it up to the.
You manually shut them off. Gotcha.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Only 20 more to go.
Okay.
But to finish that, you could also reduce the timeout, right? So make the timeout shorter so it won't get to the average. Like,
Yeah.
how many rings
could,
does it
yeah.
normally go till voicemail?
So
You know, you
usually
can-
the approach that most people take is 20 seconds, because at 20 seconds, you have a good chance of not hitting the voicemail box, but ringing enough. But if their phone is turned off or they have no network or cases like that, no matter what, you'll hit the box.
Yeah. So the problem with all of this stuff is that it's not a 0 or 1, right? It's an imperfect system. So
Yeah.
the problem that we have is if we say like, oh, we'll always hang up at 20 seconds, then there's the expectation that it always works, but it's not always going to work.
Sure.
Okay, great. All right, so I'll just do one more question. Maybe it'd be a two-parter. It's about Zapier and triggers.
Okay.
So I know that we were getting Zapier updates left and right before. It's kind of stopped for a while, which is okay. But we do have triggers on Zapier that are not, or no, sorry, we have triggers on high level that is not on Zapier.
Correct.
Right. So it would kind of be beneficial to have the same triggers on Zapier that you do on.
You're not wrong. So two things. One, the first part is it's all about priorities. And so I would say that right now, if you said I have to do this, I can show you how to do it with a webhook, right?
Right.
So is it doable? Yes, it is. So that's the biggest reason it probably hasn't been worked on. There's other things people would all agree is more important. And then two, the other problem we ran into, and we kind of burned ourselves on this, we want to be uber careful the next time we do this, is when we updated last time on Zapier, it forced us to migrate up versions. So the last version in use got like mothballed and it shut everybody off who was still on that version, which turned out to be hundreds and hundreds of people, which was not a good day for us. And so the last thing we're going to do is
shut everyone off. But I guess if you went back to the Zap, it had them reconnect the API key, and
it caused a lot of havoc and heartache that day. That's all I recall. And so we don't want to put our hand on the hot stove again if we don't have to.
Right. I remember you saying something about being able to do it at agency level.
Well, we do actually have, I don't know where that ever happened, how far we ever got with that, but there is
actually in the code right now.
Yeah,
So
that's what I
know
thought. There's an agency level API key someplace.
for this where there's an agency level API key, and if you pick the agency level API key, it'll let you pick which location you want from the dropdown without having to individually put in each location's API key. But again, the reason we haven't gone there is because there's still a few things we need to figure out before we push that update. Like we need to put some cycles into figuring out how do we push out Zap updates without forcing people to put in the API key again. And so there's a few things stuck behind that. And right now we have people on most of our people on fixing the speed issues, getting reporting out, and HIPAA. So once we're done with these, I think we'll have a few more free cycles to finish some of these app updates out. So I'd say January, you'll probably see a lot more Zap updates.
Well, and I guess we, in general, like talking about what we're really focused on right now, performance is one of the big ones. We're rolling out websites this month. We're rolling out HIPAA this month. We're rolling out white label services this month. We're rolling out CallRail this month, SmartList this month. So those are vertical funnels, which we just got live. So these are really kind of where we're trying to focus down, because those are the things that we really think are going to be important going into next year. So before we pile on more features, we kind of want to take all the things that we've committed to, get them finished and get them finished well, and make sure the system scales really nicely. So if we double the number of customers tomorrow, we're not going to worry about any kind of speed issue or system issue. We know we have the right infrastructure, which is the great news. Now it's just about optimizing our side of it to make sure we're utilizing that infrastructure properly.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that. Like prioritize what's going to be best for everybody. I'm just throwing things out there to see where we're at that. I'm not
No,
trying to push it
absolutely.
forward
I'm happy.
anymore.
And also the other part, the other limiting factor, of course, is always hiring. So we're always trying to hire new and new people and better, and good people, and doing that at speed is actually impossible. So
Right.
We have added, I think, 4 people in the last 3 weeks. So we are definitely on pace.
Okay. Well, in reference to that, my boss loves Varun, and he wants me to ask if you have any friends that are developers that need a job, because we're hiring.
If we did, we'd hire them.
We'll pay more. Okay.
We say if you guys found someone that's really nice, send them this way.
Yeah, I was going to say we would go the other direction. We'll probably pay better than you guys too, just to get them.
Okay.
John, can you talk about that call rail a little bit? Like you mentioned, you guys were rolling that out. What's that all going to include?
So
or
what's really
the advantage to that?
So we've sat down with people who use there's people that use CallRail and people who really use CallRail, right? And we've sat down with people who use the full functionality. And so what we were really missing was the ability to do dynamic number insertion and call pools, and and being able to track down at the keyword level. So if you're doing PPC campaigns or that kind of thing. So and then all the reporting that goes with it. And so what we did is we should be bringing all of that into the app, hopefully this week. It's in QA right now.
Gotcha.
So it's
so
really
that would just
the
be
idea
using CallRail in place of Twilio, or using
No. It's like I have CallRail today. Oh wait, High Level just came out with CallRail. Sweet. I can cancel my CallRail account.
Oh, gotcha.
So we'll have, because today we can track inbound calls and outbound calls and record, which is great and all, but there's some reporting that's missing from that. Plus, you can't do dynamic number insertion, right? So if you're running a Google PPC campaign and you want to answer the question, well, how many calls did I get from that ad? You can't answer that right now with our call tracking, but with the new release, you will be able to.
Gotcha.
And we're going to tell all of you guys that you should be getting into the PPC business soon. And we can't really go do that if we don't have the reporting and the ability to help you track it.
So we are coming up on an hour and a half, so I just want to make sure we get an opportunity for everybody to get a question in real quick if they have one. Christian, are you still here? You asked a question in chat a little while ago, but I'm not quite sure what the question is. How can I remove someone that was assigned to when being moved down the pipeline on auto? Chris, are you still on the call? Yes. All right. I see you in chat. Can you take yourself off of mute, and we'll be happy to help. And I can probably do it for you if I can figure out where. Okay, Chris, I see that you are off mute, but we can't hear you, so that might be a microphone thing. So chime in whenever you can. Anybody else have any questions in the meantime?
Hey, what's up, guys? Quick question for you. I'm late to the party here. Sean, you mentioned something about websites. Could you potentially elaborate on that for me?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have this really cool thing I like to call the funnel builder. And and the difference between a funnel and a website are just a couple of small minor things. And just zooming back for a second, I mean, our mission is to try to help make marketing agencies more money every day. And I have consistently found that if I get on the phone with any of you and ask one question, how long do you keep your clients? It breaks down into 2 camps, 3 to 12 months or 2+ years. And if I ask myself, and then the question is, well, what's the difference between the 2 camps? It's always the same answer, actually. It's I do one thing or I do more than one thing, i.e., I do SEO, PPC websites, whatever. That's the 2+ years camp. I just do Facebook lead gen. That's almost always the 3 to 6 month camp, right? Yeah. And so our goal long-term is, hey, how do I mean, for me anyways, I think, how can I take the person who is keeping their client 3 to 9 months and make it into 2+ years? And so the way to do that is to put them on more services. And so the easiest things to do are going to be websites and probably listings, if I have to guess. Plus everything else that'll come along very shortly thereafter. So for us, what we're going to do is we're going to take the funnel builder, we're going to extend it out we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to add a couple of pieces that you need for websites, like menus, some extra SEO stuff that people need. But the biggest thing I think we're actually going to do is create, just like we did for vertical snapshots, we're going to create vertical websites so that you can do a one-click deployment of a website, 5-minute customization, drop your client logo in there and send it off to a potential client and say, hey, I made you a website. What do you think? And then you can actually host and manage and have their website in the high-level platform. So you don't have to go off and try to mangle WordPress to do it. And now you've got your own ability to go off and sell websites.
Cool.
All right. I got it. All right. Can you guys hear me now?
There you go.
Can you hear somebody?
Thank you. So, hey, it's Chris. So, really quick, I think, honestly, I haven't been able to use high level to its full potential, and every day it's getting better and better. So, I appreciate it, guys. Also, my, whatever you call it, EI or AI or whatever, layout, little things change, and it looks much cleaner and thinner, if that makes sense, instead of bubbly. I don't know how to explain that, but yeah. But one of my biggest pet or troubles that I'm having with is that I have clients that are being more successful with doing lead gen to the point where I can't hold them accountable. I don't know how to hold them accountable with high level, because if they don't get notified, they don't do the work because they're already making really good money. So it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. So I know that you guys mentioned that.
Why don't you just use a trigger and send them a text message or something?
So yes. So here's the thing. I know how to do that, but I just don't know how to do it exactly 100%.
Okay, so have you seen the onboarding series videos? Because the claim booking snapshot has that built in. You would just have to turn them on and do a little tweaking.
Oh, did not know that. I watched all the videos when I got into high level, but not recently. So I appreciate that. But my second question would be, I work with lenders and agents on one account. So I bridged the gap from leads falling through the cracks, because that's been a big issue in my industry in Oregon. So how I changed that is bringing two different people that work together into one platform. But what I need to do is, when a lender is done doing their job, is when that lead gets moved over to, it's time to find a house, because we already know what they're approved for. How do we automate removing that lender off the lead, because we don't want them to, they don't need to know how much money we're making. They don't need to know anything. That's none of their.
I see where this is going. I've seen a couple of people asking about this. Can we automate assigning and unassigning leads to users?
Yeah, so we have on the dev list, I know we have the item to remove the assignee. And then if we do remove the assignee, so I've seen it where it's like, I assign it to group one or person one, then later on I need to delete it based on an action and then reassign it to another person or group, right? Yes. And so what we need to do is just have an action to delete, because then it's add to campaign, let the campaign do the assignment, then action happens, like you move its statuses, it deletes the assignee, adds them to a new campaign, and then reassigns.
Yes, beautiful. That's exactly.
So we have that on the dev list. I don't know who that's assigned to, Varun. You don't happen to know, do you?
I missed that.
So I think Varun, Ian, myself, and you, Sean, all had like a thread on Slack about this, like the round robin, like ownership assignment.
Yeah, deleting the assignee as an action on the actions list.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I think that's for now. I think that's more than enough. I'm just listening to everybody else's questions, because those other people asking questions, I learned from them, because things that I didn't know or things I could do better. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, that's what these Wednesday calls are all about.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
I'm kind of dealing with the same thing that Chris is a little bit with what he was just talking about too.
Yeah, just the ability to remove the salesperson, right?
I'm doing it more like via Zapier right now, but if it could be all in high level, that'd be good.
Yeah, but that's what you need, right? The ability to remove the person who's assigned currently to the lead so it can be reassigned.
Yep.
Yeah.
Varun,
can you double check that that's in the Clubhouse list someplace? Because I think that's pretty critical and pretty easy, to be honest.
I got a little late too. I don't know if somebody asked this, and somebody mentioned it in the Facebook group too, just about the calendars just having specific dates that you can assign things for. Just because I noticed that, like, whenever I try to do like, if we do like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 11 to 4, that doesn't always correlate for a lot of like client schedules, because their schedules change all the time, and they have like, if it's for a gym or for a realtor, they have like a open house net like this specific date, or they have like a gym class at this specific date. And then when I have it set up in the calendar, and then people are picking dates in the following months, and then they're like, what are you doing? Like, they can't select these dates. Like, sometimes that happens, and I tried to like, you know, go to Google Calendar and try to like block out dates and try to set it all up. And sometimes it just bugs a little bit. So if there was a way to do that natively in high level, that would be amazing. And I know that you probably know about this already, but.
No, so this is the idea that that you could set dates into the future, like windows almost.
Yeah, like right now it's all set up just based on Monday through, Sunday through Saturday, and not specific dates with.
Yeah. So yeah, I know what you're saying. So yeah, so we actually have a developer who's coming in just to do calendar updates.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that, we'll do services first and round robin first, but sort of next, or, in that one of those orders. But then that's the type of thing I could totally see them kind of going towards next.
That would be amazing for me, because that's like one of the biggest issues that I have currently. And I like try to work it around it. And like, because sometimes we're just sending links to people to let them choose their own like class times or whatever the case is. And sometimes they're picking way ahead, and it's not the biggest issue in the world. Sometimes we're just going a little bit more back and forth than we need to in messaging. If they were just able to, schedule everything through the calendar for months on ahead, even if they wanted to, or if we wanted to do that for clients. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to ask. I just wanted to ask about that, because that's like the main thing that seems to be a reoccurring theme for me.
A trigger that triggers when a note is added or updated would be a lot. Yeah, I mean, these are all great ideas for the ideas list. It's probably already there if you go in there and search it. Just upvote it, share it around. I mean, again, a lot of this kind of stuff gets actioned upon when it gets pushed up by the community. So it's really important to search for ideas. If it already exists, upvote it. If it doesn't, get it added, and then share it in the community and try to get others to vote it as well. All right, last call. Any other questions?
I'll take you up on that. Last question for me. And again, sorry if this was mentioned already. The reporting, kind of like agency analytics type features that you guys were talking about, I've kind of been in and out of the Slack channel. Any update or progress on that? Or
yeah, absolutely. Which report specifically?
That's a good question. I can't answer that. I just know that you guys had mentioned that you're bringing some type of.
So the call rail report or the call rail replacement is going to be kind of the first kickoff of that. So not only does it come with a dynamic number insertion, but it'll come up with hopefully what everybody thinks is a cool report. But then we already have underway. The next one up will be PPC reporting for Google and Facebook.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, cool. And then after that, so in January, we'll come out with all the delivery reporting and the open rates and all that, plus the analytics and Google My Business reporting. So, and then in February, you'll see agent reporting, and then probably SEO reporting after that. So we're going to keep reporting will be a big theme for like 3 months solid, because we really want to get to a place where any kind of metric we can give you, and specifically, more importantly, give your client is in those reports, because I think reports are going to be a huge part of all of the services that we start to roll out, because it's going to be hard to say you provide PPC or something if you don't have a report to back it up.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I just wanted to add one more thing about the calendar. Just if it was possible, I know like in other calendar softwares that I had, you're able to like let people only book up to a certain time period, just so they don't block like too far ahead in the future if a client doesn't want that or something. Because there's some cases where they don't have their schedules made up. For the
well, you can already limit how far out ahead you can book.
Oh, you can? I didn't realize that.
Yep, that's already there.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. It's just in the calendar settings. I think I'm trying to see what it's called.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now too. It is called date range.
Okay, well that's good.
Date range.
Done and done.
It says events can be scheduled over the next N undefined.
I didn't even know that. That's good. Where is that?
It's in the calendar settings. It's one of the last options before you get down to like thank you message and stuff.
Okay,
and
perfect.
The days.
Great, thank you.
Sure. All right.
Oh, I have one more question, real quick.
Fire
just
away.
out of this. So I know you were moving some things from the account settings to the agency settings. I was wondering if there's ever a plan to do more of that, because we limit our settings. We don't let our clients see the settings, because then they'd be able to see all of our other clients. If they go to the integration tab, like they'll be able to do the drop down and see everybody else we're integrated with, because we have a lot of people on, like, say, Facebook Ads Manager. Is there a way that it's going to be moved over into the agency settings so we can assign it there, so we can give them more access to settings? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. This came up before. So basically, if you're connecting your agency's Facebook Ads Manager to connect your client's page, and then the client goes back to that setting, they can see all the other pages.
Right.
So the only way around that is to walk your client through connecting their own page, which is kind of a pain.
Right. Yeah, that's just not something we can do, because we are, the marketing agency for them and other people. So we run all of our ads through our own ad account, not theirs.
Right. But all you need to do is connect the page, right?
I'll have to open it up and take a quick look.
But it's a valid question, because it is, the point still stands. And I don't know if Robin or Sean or Varun, if this has hit your radar yet. And if we've even thought through what the solution would be. But yes, in general, we're trying to move things that make sense to the agency level to prevent things like this from happening.
Okay,
So
yeah, it just says Facebook accounts. It is ad accounts, yeah, okay. So yeah, if they can give access to that settings, then they'll be able to do the drop down, see all the ad accounts that we have associated. That's why we limit them, so they can't even get into settings.
Yeah, Varun, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
Has this hit your radar yet? This issue where basically, if I go into a client account and I connect my agency Facebook ad manager so that I can run ads, so I can connect that client's account, and then the client themselves goes into settings and clicks the Facebook integration, they can see all the other clients of that agency.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I mean,
so the question is, can we somehow move this to the agency level?
We can, I guess. I mean, we'll have to look, check. We did this with the MailGun settings as well, where we moved it to the agency side, but that was a easier thing to move. But we can definitely look into this, because the problem here is, in some cases, you will want it to be on the client side, because it's not always an agency connecting that Facebook account. It might be the client connecting their own Facebook account to integrate the page as well. So you can't just outright move it out, but you'll have to kind of know whether the account that's being connected is an agency account, or is the agency person's account, or if it's the user's account, which Facebook doesn't give us that distinction. So it really comes down to how do we do it. We could probably have a Facebook connect on the agency side and another one on the client side, and have the, I mean, we'll have to think through that solution. So there isn't an easy way, but it's definitely something we can find a fix for.
Great, thank you.
Varun, while I have you, this sort of relates to the question that we see a lot of, can we turn sections of high level off visually for specific clients?
Yeah.
So it's like, don't even allow the clients to be able to see the settings section.
Oh, like check-in client, that big green button. If I could shut that off somehow, oh wow. Because like we don't have that set up, and people keep on asking about it. Like I'm hitting it, it keeps on breaking.
So there's two ways to do that. So if you want to take that check-in client off, the easiest way is custom CSS. You can just use custom CSS to kill that button. The
Where
other
exactly?
thing you should be, so
'Cause
the
did you
custom
move it?
CSS is under the agency settings, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, and you'd have to go throw in some CSS to take that button out. And the other way is if you kill the reviews part of the app, if you remove the reviews permission for all users, that should
Ah,
also take that button out.
okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Wait, say that last part again, Varun. If you what?
Or if you pull reviews out as a permission, it should also take that button out.
Here's the CSS if you want it. Do you want to look in chat real quick?
I do. Because I'd rather leave that review because they like seeing their own reviews.
I think it was posted in the Facebook group recently as well. So for anyone who watches this link.
Varun, if you apply custom CSS, and it's going to go across all your accounts, right?
Yes.
Sorry, don't forget this last bracket. Here, let me paste it again. That's what you would put in your agency level CSS panel.
I will try it. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, that custom CSS might take out more than just that one button.
I just inspected it in Chrome, and
I am. So let me send you guys an other custom CSS, which will make sure that it only takes out this button, no matter what. There you go. You throw that, and then it'll only take this button out.
Oh, dude, you guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you both.
Yeah, I have reviews removed for like a few people, and that's not showing up, so that's good to know.
Yeah.
I see. My bad. I was looking at the wrong class. Are you in Chrome or Firefox or something? Not that it would be any different, but I'm just curious.
Chrome.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay.
Okay, cool. So we're at an hour and 45 now, so let's call it a day. But as always, if you're not in the Slack group yet, you should jump in because you can always fire questions off in there, and the team is really great at hopping right on them. But other than that, we'll be back next week, same time, different theme, but you're always welcome to bring any questions you have. And you can always go to gohighlevel.com/support if you need to open a ticket. That
Thank
being
you,
said,
everybody.
have a great rest of the week to everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, y'all. Take care.
Everybody here is amazing. Have a wonderful day.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.